Okay, this is 13.2, and at the top I have a couple of things we're going to need to check. This one we talked about yesterday. The square root cannot equal a negative, or it's not going to work, and it's no solution. Also, we can't have a negative underneath the square root sign, because we're only dealing in real numbers, and if we had a negative, that would be an imaginary number. Take a minute, copy all this down, and then we'll work these. All right. So the first thing, if we wanted to work this by hand, first we would square both sides, and then I could cancel out the squared and the square root, and I'd have x squared equals 3x plus 4. Now to solve this by hand, I would need to minus the stuff and move it to that side, so minus 3x and minus 4, and I do it on this side too. This stuff would cancel, and I get x squared minus 3x minus 4 equals 0. At this point, I need to factor this, and we did the bottom-up method earlier, so I take the c, the negative 4, and I put it here, and then I do the factors of 4, 1 and 4, 2 and 2, and I say, what's going to get me a negative 3? Well, if I make this 4 a negative, 1 times negative 4 is negative 4, and 1 plus negative 4 is negative 3. So that's my answer. So I put them inside my factors like this, x and x, 1 and negative 4 equals 0. Then to solve this, I set each one of these equal to 0. So I have x plus 1 equals 0, and I have x minus, and x minus 4 equals 0. This is a minus. So I took this one, set it to equal to 0, that one set it equal to 0. Then I solve this by going minus 1, so x equals negative 1, and here x, I do plus 4 and plus 4, so I get x equals 4. So I got two answers here, but I need to see if they both work. If I put a negative, remember this originally was x equals this, so x cannot be a negative number. This side, the square root cannot equal a negative, so this one's gone. And this one would be okay, because that would be a positive, and this would all be positive, so this one's the answer. So that's how I would do it by hand. Now let me show you how you can do it on the calculator. And this works for every single thing. What I do is I take the left-hand side, which was just x, and I put it in for F1 on a graph. So we'll put that in, x. Then for F2, so I'm going to go back to tab, and on F2, I'm going to put the right-hand side. So I'm going to do the square root, which is right here, control square root. Then I'm going to type in the right-hand side, 3x plus 4, and hit enter. And look, hey, that's the same shape of a square root graph we had when we did it on the graphing unit. And then my answer is where they cross. So remember how to get where they cross? Menu, analyze graph 6, and then we want to do the intersection where they cross 4. And then I have to go click, click. So click on this side. I want to click on both sides of the little cross. So on this side of the cross, oops, hold on. Let me try it again. Menu 6, 4, on this side of the cross, and on this side of the cross. And it tells me it crosses at 4, and I'm looking for the x value. I don't care about y. There was no y's in my problem. I care about 4. And hey, look. It told us the answer was 4, and here the answer is 4. That's the right answer, 4. So I'm going to do the rest of these just with the calculator to show you how they work on the calculator. And I'm going to use my on-screen calculator because it's a little easier. So home, new, graph. And I'm going to type in my graphs here. So for the next one, I'm going to put x, the left-hand side, in first on F1, and I'm going to hit down, and it goes to F2, and I'm going to put the right-hand side in there. That's 4 plus, my square root button is right here, control square root of x plus 2, and I hit enter, and I see it's off the screen. So remember how we fix that. I need to go to menu, then I need to do Windows and Zoom, and I just need to go up some. So I could try fit and see if fit works, and that worked great. So now I want my intersection here, menu 6, 4, click, click, and it tells me my answer is 7. So I get x equals 7. Now I do want to check. If I put a 7 in here, that's a positive on this side. If I put 7 in here, that's a positive, so that's my answer. All right, what if it's 0? Sometimes it just looks weird because it's 0, so I'm going to just go back and do this. Go back up to 1. I'm going to change that to 0 because that's the left-hand side. Then I'm going to go down. I'm going to change this one to match my right-hand side here, x plus square root's right here, control square root, 2x plus 3, hit enter. Now, it's hard to see it, but there's my 0. My 0 line is right on the axis. It's the blue one that's kind of showing up there. So I'm looking for where these two things cross. On this one, I can probably tell. It looks like -1. But let's go ahead and do it anyway. Analyze intersection, click, click, and it tells us for sure it's at -1. In this case, if I put a -1 in here, that would still give me -2 plus 3 is a +1, and then -1 right here is still okay. So x equals -1 is my answer. All right, the next one. Sometimes we have a bunch of extra weird stuff, and I'm going to show you what happens on this one. So tab, go up, put in the left-hand side, which is just 3. Put in the right-hand side, which is all this stuff. 4 square root x plus 9 equals plus 11. Hit enter. I can't even see my red graph. It looks like it's off the screen up there. So let's zoom out. Menu, zoom out. There we go. And I just took it and grabbed it to pull it down. Well, what do we see here? The blue line and the red line are not even crossing. If they don't cross, the answer is no solution. That's literally what's happening if the answer is no solution, is my graphs don't cross. And one more. Tab up to 1. I'm going to put in this side, which this side has got a whole thing here. 1/2 x plus 3. And tab, go to F2 for the other side. The square root. Control square root 2x plus 2. This one also does not cross, so this would also be no solution. I don't have an example like it, but there is one on your homework where when you do it, it looks like this, where it crosses in 2 places. Let's say this one crosses at 1, 1, and this one crosses at 3, 3. If this was the answer, if this is what our graph looked like, we could have 2 answers, and our answers would be x equals 1 and x equals 3. We could have 2 answers because it crosses in 2 places like that. All right, that's it. Do your homework.